If you change, are you losing yourself? Alex finally has one free hour. A friend is picking up Alex's child from school on Tuesday, one pickup a week for 6 weeks. In the last episode, Alex considered whether this bounded offer could preserve Alex's authority over the rest of Alex's life. So the hour arrives. Nobody needs a ride. No emergency has to be managed. Alex has free time for the first time in a long time. Alex can ask a very ordinary question. What do I want to do? And Alex has no answer. Alex opens a music app and scrolls through songs that used to mean something. The names are familiar, but the desire isn't there. Alex thinks about an old hobby, then realizes the energy for it isn't there either. Even rest feels unfamiliar because Alex has spent so long using every available minute to keep life moving. For a long time, Alex has had to answer questions of necessity. What bill has to be paid? Who needs a ride? Which paperwork has to be found? What emergency has to be managed? Those questions come with deadlines and consequences. What do I want? What do I want? Doesn't. So Alex reaches for another task because tasks are familiar. The free hour doesn't immediately feel like freedom, it feels like missing instructions. That doesn't prove desire disappeared. Alex has simply had more recent practice managing demands instead of noticing preferences. Then the thought in Alex's mind arrives. The person I was is gone. Maybe you recognize that thought. You look at what you used to enjoy, how easily you used to laugh, who you trusted, what you expected from the future, or the role you once occupied. The memories are yours, but the person inside them can feel difficult to recognize. And if several parts of your life changed together, a relationship, money, housing, caregiving, work, routine, or trust in people and institutions, the change can feel global. You don't just say, my life changed. You say, I changed so much that I don't know whether I'm still here in the same way. Today, we're going to make one distinction. Continuity is not sameness. And by the end of the video, I'll give you 4 questions you can use when you feel disconnected from the person you were. Let's begin by respecting the part that's true. You changed. Maybe your energy changed. Maybe your priorities changed. Maybe the way you relate to people changed. Maybe you're less socially available, less trusting, less spontaneous, or less willing to perform a role that once made you recognizable to everyone around you. The answer isn't to deny real change or demand that you perform an earlier identity. Exact restoration is not the goal of this lesson. Meaningful connection is. So, what I mean by continuity? The way I'm using continuity here is the experience that your earlier life, the changes you went through, and the choices you're making now still belong to you. Psychology research describes self continuity as a subjective sense of connection among your past, present, and future selves. Subjective is important here. This is about experienced connection. It isn't proof that every trait remained fixed or that one permanent essence exists beneath every change. Sameness is the idea that I remain exactly as I was. Continuity is different. Continuity is the idea, can I recognize meaningful ownership across what changed? Those are different questions. Alex is not the same in every respect. The practical role changed, the daily rhythm changed, energy changed. Several preferences may have changed. Expected the future that Alex expected rather may no longer be available. If we deny those changes, we don't restore Alex. We ask Alex to perform an earlier identity because it's easier for other people, or sometimes easier for Alex to recognize. It's a performance, but a role is not the whole person. Think about how much identity can collect around roles. Identity can collect around partners, parent, provider, caregiver, organizer, problem solver, the calm person, the person everyone calls when something breaks. These are roles. A role can become so repetitive that it feels like an answer to the question, who am I? Other people organize or recognize you through it. You recognize yourself through it. Your routines confirm it every day. Then the role changes or becomes impossible. A relationship ends. A job disappears. Caregiving intensifies. A future you had organized around, no longer exists. You may experience a loss of the role as evidence that the person who occupied it has also disappeared. But the evidence is incomplete. A role tells us what you repeatedly did inside a particular arrangement. It doesn't contain every value, preference, commitment, memory, relationship, capacity, or future choice that belongs to you. The book OLNA has a chapter on something called personhood. Personhood describes something you keep constructing and maintaining. It also separates personality, the texture of how you move through the world, from character, the repeated expression of your values, ethics, commitments, integrity, and conduct. So, changed energy, caution, humor, or sociability can be real without telling us everything about the person living through those changes. Research on personality also finds both stability and change across adulthood. A group average can't tell you exactly what changed and in you or why. That gives us a more useful question. If your energy changed, did every value disappear? If your role ended, did every commitment end with it? If you became more cautious, did your capacity for honesty vanish? Not necessarily. Let's go back to Alex. Suppose Alex once expressed care by being available for everything, every ride, every crisis, every request, every rupture. Alex can't and won't live that way anymore. If we confuse care with that one performance, we might conclude that care disappeared. But perhaps care now appears as preparation. Alex keeps the school schedule updated, makes sure the pickup arrangement is clear, and communicates when something changes. The expression is different. The value may still be recognizable in the conduct. What I'm saying is it may be because we don't need to force the answer. Maybe that value changed too. Continuity doesn't require us to invent a beautiful answer. Vaknin says not to confuse change with healing. A person can be changed by what happened and still function again. John Saporno approaches the idea through ongoing existence. He says, I seem to be a verb. I continue, I exist, I will continue to exist. Saporno's metaphor presents a person as continuing and developing rather than remaining identical. The choice you make now doesn't erase what come before or what came before. What came before doesn't dictate every choice available now. This is where people can accidentally turn recovery into another performance. Someone says, you used to be fun. So you try to reproduce that energy. Someone says, you were always a strong one. So you keep carrying more than you can carry. Someone says, this isn't who you are. So you begin treating another person's familiarity as better evidence of your identity than your current limits, your current values, and your current choices. Sometimes the pressure comes from inside. You believe recovery should look like enjoying the same things, trusting at the same speed, having the same boundaries, returning to the same social life, or feeling grateful because you supposedly became stronger. But you don't owe suffering a positive ending. Research on post traumatic growth has challenged the broad promise that adversity reliably makes people stronger. Growth may occur, but it isn't guaranteed and isn't the price you must pay to justify your survival. You can say, this changed me, without saying, this improved me. You can also say, I don't know who I'm becoming yet, without treating uncertainty as failure. So, what do you do with this information? We're going to call this the continuity bridge. There are 4 questions. First question, what changed? Be concrete. Name the roles, routines, preferences, relationships, capacities, beliefs, expectations, or ways of responding. Alex might say, my energy changed, my social role changed, the future I expected changed. I don't enjoy free time in the same way. Concrete change is easier to understand than the global sentence, I disappeared. After you find out what changed, you ask a second question, what carried through? Don't search for an unchanging core. Look for one recognizable concern, one recognizable value, one recognizable commitment, relationship, preference, or pattern of conduct. One is enough. For Alex, it might be care expressed through reliable preparation. And if nothing feels recognizable today, the answer can be, I don't know yet. So you find out what changed, what carried through, and now you ask the third question, what still feels like, what still feels owned by me? This question is about authorship, not approval. Maybe you don't like every part of the past. Maybe you regret a choice. Maybe a former role no longer fits. Ownership means you say, that happened in my life. That choice had consequences. That version of me had information, needs, fears, and limits. I don't have to repeat it. I don't have to pretend it belonged to someone else. Present ownership also doesn't make you responsible for another person's harm. What can I choose now? Must never become, I caused what happened to me. So after you find out what changed, what carried through, and what still feels owned by you, then you ask, what am I choosing now? Not for the rest of your life, not as proof that you healed, one choice that belongs to the person living today. Alex can choose one song and listen without demanding that the song restore an old feeling. Alex can stop halfway through. Alex can discover that song no longer fits Alex. Alex can choose silence instead. The success is not nostalgia. The success is authorship. What changed? What carried through? What still feels owned by me? What am I choosing now? Those questions don't require you to call every change growth. They don't require gratitude, forgiveness, reconciliation, renewed access, or a return to former roles and relationships. Okay, so let's go back to Alex's free hour from the example. The hour doesn't have to restore anything. It doesn't have to reveal a finished new Alex either. Maybe Alex listens to one song, maybe there's no breakthrough, maybe the only honest recognition is I chose this song, and after 30 seconds, I chose to turn it off. That's small, but it belongs to the present. Changed is not the same as erased. You don't have to prove everything stayed the same. You don't have to make the rupture meaningful. You don't have to perform an earlier version of yourself to other people or so other people can recognize you. You can acknowledge what ended, notice what carried through, remain uncertain about what still feels owned, and make one present choice without demanding it explain your entire identity. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to be changed. And the life you're choosing now can still belong to you. Now that you changed from this video, my name is Ron John. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
When you went still, the room went hollow. I learned the shape of a swallow's sorrow. Then came the porch lights, one by one, small gold halos on different started tying what I could keep.